Before the Black Iron Age, deep in a forgotten forest, trees whisper in the mist. In this cursed place where brave warriors dare not go, lived two mysterious old wizards. One in red, one in yellow. When a human army came to destroy them, the Crimson Sage only laughed. He raised his staff and shattered the air like a glass mirror. This was his forbiddance magic. From the broken pieces, exact copies of the armored knights marched out. He used the enemy's own shadow to destroy their own souls. Then, a deadly black arrow broke their defense and flew straight toward the Crimson Wizard's heart. In that fatal second, the Amber Wizard sighed. He opened his hand, and an ancient cosmic clock chimed in the dark, time itself forced backward. The arrow flew in reverse, and the danger disappeared into nothing. After stopping the deadly arrow, the two wizards did not stay on the battlefield. They turned away from the mortal war and walked back together into the shadows of their forbiddance forest. The magic faded, the mist rolled in, and they disappeared once more into the eternal quiet. Far away in a northern castle, a greedy king built his fortress walls with the flesh and bone of his enemies. Now, a terrible curse has come. The ghosts of the dead wander the halls, draining the souls of the soldiers and common people day and night. Before the Iron Throne, the bravest knight knelt in despair before his dying king. He said,
"Your Majesty, the walls are weeping. Our swords cannot cut the ghosts. We have only one hope. We must find the two legendary sages hidden in the Black Forest."
The king had never heard of the wizards, but he had no other choice. He tied a royal letter to a black raven and sent it into the stormy night. The bird flew across the sky, searching for the only entities who could change fate. The lone raven flew over withered mountains and wild rivers. It braved a great storm and crossed the dangerous inner sea. When it finally reached the edge of the Forbiddance Forest, it had spent its last spark of life. It was completely exhausted, unable to beat its wings anymore. In the second its eyes closed, the world broke like a glass mirror. The dying bird saw a strange wonder, thousands of copies of itself flying through past storms, overlapping in an endless loop. It was not a dream. The masters of the forest had woven its path long before it arrived. When it opened its eyes again, the raven found itself perching on the yellow wizard's staff. Time had moved backward, and life returned to its body. Around it, several glowing, blue phantom ravens danced in the air. The wise wizards never stepped blindly into danger. They needed to see the true face of this dark curse. The wizard waved his staff, and the blue phantom ravens became living guides. They flew back across the sea to lead the suffering knight to hear. Suddenly, a familiar cry broke the fog. When the ghostly blue light descended upon his helm, the knight knew his prayers were answered. The dying knight knelt before his king as the shadow grew darker.
"The blue mirrors of fate. This is no mortal magic. Your Majesty, the ghosts in the walls are running away. They fear these blue birds. The masters of the Black Forest are calling me. Even if my body breaks on the road, I must bring our sins before the sages."
Guided by the blue phantoms, the knight finally crossed the border of his kingdom. But when the long-forgotten sun rose and shone upon him, it brought no warmth. It was a terrible torture. The curse was too deep. The mortal sunlight burned his armor like boiling magma, melting his flesh. In the breath before the night turned to ash, the phantom birds cried out. They wove a shadow of fate above his head, blocking the sun. Beneath this blue shield, the hot iron turned cold again.
Ha, ha. We are monsters now. The sun rejects us. Only that dark forest is our home. Let us go, little one. Take me to the sages.
All along the way, shielded by the mystical raven, the knight's eyes began to glow with a divine blue fire. He closed them, but he could see through space. Far away at the end of the world, he saw the Forbidden Forest. And to his horror, the two wizards by the campfire were looking back across the miles, smiling into his eyes.
I see them. They are watching me in the mist. I can make it. I will bring our sins to their feet.
Following the blue path from his burning eyes, the knight marched through the long wilderness. He crossed high mountains and raging rivers, moving toward his fate without stopping. Finally, he reached the edge of the dark inner sea. Across the roaring waves, he could see the Forbidden Forest on the other side. The wizards were right there, but a massive ocean lay between them. His mortal body could not cross this dangerous water. In that hopeless moment, the phantom ravens came to his side once more. They spread their giant blue wings and lifted the heavy knight into the sky. Circling in the storm, the magical birds carried him across the raging sea, flying straight toward the Forbidden Forest. Flying high above the primeval woods, the ravens carried the knight deep into the dark shadow. Looking down through the heavy mist, he saw a strange wonder in the forest floor. Two mysterious lights were shining bright below, one in crimson red and one in radiant yellow. The phantom raven slowly descended, bringing the knight down to the feet of the two dwarf wizards. In the misty clearing, the two sages sat in deep meditation upon a massive ancient stone. Through the dark fog, their robed bodies softly glowed, one in faint crimson red and one in faint radiant yellow. As the knight knelt before the ancient stone, the amber wizard chanted a secret spell. A blinding streak of golden light sliced through the mist. The knight closed his eyes, and in that second, he felt his ethereal soul slowly breaking free from his heavy iron shell. When the knight opened his eyes again, he saw a terrifying shadow covered in dark purple fire, roaring violently beside him. Then, the amber wizard waved his gnarled staff once more. As golden magic flowed, the terrifying phantom began to change. The dark purple fire slowly dissolved and vanished into the mist. Through the power of time, the angry monster turned back into a normal mortal youth, the innocent face of the knight from many years ago.
Time moved backward.
The knight whispered. Looking at the mortal youth before him, he recognized his own younger self.
Yes, this is the former you, and your fury. It was sealed inside your body. This is why the sunlight burns. You, the sun, activates the fury within, and it scorches your flesh. But why your younger self is hidden with this anger, I do not know. You must tell me.
The knight knelt before the ancient stone and began to tell the story of his fallen kingdom.
In my memory, the change began about 20 years ago. Before that dark day, our kingdom was blessed with fine weather and rich harvests. The city streets were always crowded with happy travelers and merchants. And our king, he was kind, wise, and gentle to us all. Then suddenly one day, dark clouds covered the sky. Thunder and lightning roared. Several giant lightning bolts crashed down from the heavens. The impact created a massive shockwave of light, affecting everyone inside the castle, including the king and myself. Since then, my memory began to blur. I only remember that I could no longer recognize anyone in the kingdom. People changed completely. Some cried sometimes, some laughed sometimes, and some created chaos. It was as if everyone had become a completely different person. I found that I was changing too. During those times when my memory blurred, I could not remember what I did at all. But whenever I woke up and became conscious again, I always found many new scars on my body. My heart was completely filled with terror. He continued. Since that day, the king also became completely mad. He started to wage wars everywhere. At the end of every battle, the king would order his men to throw all the corpses, both our own soldiers and the enemies, into the castle walls. From that time, the whole kingdom became completely dead. Often at night, people could see the ghosts on the castle walls screaming and weeping in agony. Since then, I also began to fall and waste away. I completely lost my will to fight. I spent all my days wandering blindly through the dead kingdom, suffering endlessly from the torment of the wraiths.
At that moment, the innocent mortal youth who was just forced out of the knight's body began to speak.
The sky was covered in dark clouds, with heavy thunder and lightning. Then, in a single second, I was sucked into a black hole. When I woke up again, I was already trapped inside this body. I remember I was also a knight in that kingdom. He is me, and I am him, but our personalities and tempers are completely different. In the kingdom where I came from, the entire nation loved war and fighting, and I was the only angry knight in that kingdom. Our king was not weak like their king. He led us to war everywhere, conquering cities and territories. Our spoils were countless. Gold, silver, and treasures from all over were plundered completely by our legions. We piled up the bones and corpses of our enemies, making them rise as high as hills. But on that day 20 years ago, we killed the very last tribe within our kingdom's reach. Suddenly, the sky was covered in dark clouds with heavy thunder and lightning. A deep voice echoed from the sky. I will cast a curse upon you. Your evil will show upon your own bodies. Your punishment is to destroy the most beautiful thing in this world, yourselves. I was trapped inside that weak and useless body. I was filled with absolute rage. The fire of that anger flashed like purple sparks inside this mortal flesh. Whenever his will became weak, I would turn into dark purple flames and explode out from his mortal body. I blurred his mind, and I tortured his physical iron shell endlessly. I could not escape this shell, and our angry king could not escape either. He stopped fighting foreign wars and began to murder people randomly. He built those people's dead bodies into the fortress walls, just to feel the cruel spoils made by his own fury.
Enough! Shut up, you despicable wretch!
The old knight roared at the angry younger self who was just forced out of his body.
So it was you. It was your people who destroyed our kingdom, our citizens, and our everything. I understand now. So they came from another universe. But the ones being punished are us.
The knight said in deep, bitter grief. Then the gaze turned towards the wizard.
In fate, you two were always one. You are the most beautiful side of yourself. He came from another universe, but he is the other side of your own inner nature. Destroying the beautiful side is the ultimate punishment from the gods. But that punishment will not happen today.
With those words, the Crimson Wizard raised his staff. He created a magical mirror out of thin air, right in front of the younger knight.
Go back into the mirror, angry knight.
The second the colossal mirror appeared, the furious young knight was violently sucked inside it.
I only sealed him away for now. To fix this completely, we must go to your kingdom. We must send all the angry and weeping souls back to their own universes.
Then, the Crimson Wizard drew another mirror in the air with his staff. Inside the glass, the knight's castle appeared, surrounded by dark purple fog. Right after, the magical mirror portal violently sucked them all inside. In a single breath, they disappeared into the flashing light, leaving the Forbidden Forest completely empty. With a sudden flash, the space tore open, falling upside down from the sky. The knight and the dwarf wizards crashed down right in front of the castle's massive iron gate. Before they could even stand up, the terrible curse awoke. Hundreds of purple, vengeful ghosts on the castle walls let out an angry scream and flew down like a violent wave, rushing straight toward them. At that second, the Crimson Wizard waved his gnarled staff. Instantly, the blue phantom raven split into thousands and millions of copies. The massive storm of blue birds flew upward, rushing into the angry purple ghosts and fighting them violently in the sky. While the sky was filled with fire and war, the others did not stop. The two wizards and the knight walked straight through the gate, heading deep into the fortress toward the royal palace. Finally, they arrived inside the grand palace hall. The room was cold and dead. High on his black iron throne, the old king sat weakly, completely fading away without any power. The knight walked forward and knelt on one knee before the iron throne. He began to tell his king everything that happened to him after meeting the two sages.
Your Majesty, I found the wizards in the Black Forest, and I have learned the terrifying truth of our 20-year curse.
Then, the Crimson Wizard pointed his staff into the air. A floating magical mirror appeared in the middle of the hall. Inside the glass, they could see the younger knight, filled with pure fury and burning with dark purple flames. Looking at the raging purple shadow inside the magic mirror, the old king completely broke down.
No, please. Use your sword to kill me.
As soon as he finished those words, the old king collapsed on his throne. The madness vanished, and he began to weep and sob in deep, bitter sorrow. Then, the king suddenly stopped weeping. He began to roar with intense fury once more. From his old, wide eyes, dangerous dark purple fire exploded outward as the mad spirit conquered his body again. In just a single second, the fire inside the king's eyes grew into a massive, colossal fireball. With a terrifying roar, the giant purple flame crashed downward, rushing straight toward the knight and the two wizards. At that fatal second, the knight stood up. He used his heavy black armor to block the massive fireball.
Please, save my king.
The knight said to the wizards through his heavy iron helmet, while the purple flames burned his body. At that critical moment, the two wizards raised their staffs together. A sharp golden beam and a deep crimson beam shot forward, hitting the old king. With a giant explosion of light, two separate souls were violently forced out of the king's body, standing on both sides of his physical shell. They are showing to completely different worlds.
What have I done to my people?
I will bury you all. I will throw every single one of you into the fortress walls.
With the tyrant's roar, the ultimate curse broke free. Millions of purple, vengeful ghosts rushed out like a wild tide from the walls, the floor, and the ceiling. The massive wave of dark purple fire engulfed the entire hall, attacking the knight and the two wizards from every side. In the far distance, only the king's physical body stood alone in front of his iron throne. Without his souls, his weak mortal shell was hugging his own shoulders, trembling and shivering in deep terror under the storm of ghosts. But right at that second, the Amber Wizard chanted a powerful spell and raised his staff. A miracle happened. All the purple, vengeful ghosts began to shrink rapidly and fly backward in reverse. through the power of time. The entire wave of dark spirits was violently sucked back into the two floating souls beside the king's body. Right after, the Crimson Wizard also chanted a secret spell and raised his staff. Inside the flashing light, the two souls of the king instantly split into 4 copies. The 4 identical ghostly figures floated in the air, completely surrounding the old black iron throne. But suddenly, a terrible change happened. The 4 souls of the king violently crashed and overlapped together. Roaring in deep rage, they began to fuse into a single, massive dark phantom, creating a terrifying ultimate monster.
Spirits, retreat. Go back to the universe where you belong.
The 2 wizards spoke at the exact same time. Their combined magic exploded, violently tearing the giant fusing soul apart. In a single breath, a blinding white light flashed through the hall. All the magic and ghosts vanished into nothing. High on the throne, only the king's physical body remained, slumped in the cold seat without any power. The floating magic mirror was gone, and the angry younger knight inside it had completely disappeared. Then, right after the silence, the ravens rushed into the palace hall. Thousands of glowing blue phantom birds filled the air, soaring and circling beautifully over the entire grand room. Their mystical blue wings lit up the dark, empty palace, announcing the absolute end of the 20-year curse. At last, the dark purple ghosts inside the fortress vanished completely into nothing. But as the evil magic faded, the ancient stone walls began to crack and break open. Deep inside the ruined walls, columns of cold, white human bones and skeletons were shockingly exposed to the cold air. The knight walked closer, kneeling on both knees before his king, and spoke with a heavy heart.
My king, these sins were made by ourselves from another universe. Those worlds exist because those dark emotions still live inside our own hearts. In those foreign times, our anger was amplified, turning into real malice. We must bury all these bones in the walls properly, and pray day and night to purify our own souls.
At that moment, the old king finally regained his senses. He looked at his loyal knight and spoke with deep determination.
Please, immediately gather all the surviving citizens in the city. Rebuild and repair our kingdom exactly as you said. I will order the craftsmen to build a sacred altar tonight, and I will pray there day and night to purify my own soul.
The knight turned his head and looked through the broken palace window at the distant city. The kingdom was in complete ruins.
My king, our people were also affected by the other universe. They became mad and lost their minds. I am afraid they cannot rebuild the city yet. They are too weak. They need time to rest and to heal.
Before the knight could even finish his words, the 2 wizards whistled together to the birds. Instantly, the endless ocean of blue phantom ravens flew out of the palace hall. Like a beautiful storm of blue light, millions of mystical birds flew over the castle walls, rushing toward the suffering citizens and common people outside the city. Then, a true miracle happened in the ruins. Those blue phantom ravens flew directly into the bodies of the suffering people. Instantly, every single citizen began to glow with a soft, warm blue light. Under this holy light, their mad eyes and painful expressions slowly disappeared, completely restoring back into a calm and peaceful state. At last, the dark storm vanished into nothing. The true sun rose from the horizon, bringing its long-forgotten golden light back to the world. The warm sunbeams shone upon the citizens in the ruined streets and streamed into the grand hall, bathing the old iron throne, the king. and the loyal knight in a glorious golden dawn. The 20-year nightmare was finally over. The old king looked down from his iron throne, filled with deep gratitude, and spoke to the two sages.
Two wise sages, you have saved me and my kingdom. Whatever you desire, just say the word. As long as it is within my power, I will do everything to fulfill your requests.
Hearing those words, the two wizards looked at each other and shared a quiet smile in the dark. Without saying a word, they vanished instantly into the floating magic mirror in midair. The portal shattered into pieces, leaving only the king and his loyal knight in the silent, golden sunbeams. The legendary sages were gone, disappearing once more into their forbidden forest. Right at that second, a deep cosmic echo roared from the faraway edge of the sky.
Time has no order. The self cannot be reset. I am always one, merely an illusion within your mortal eyes.